It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of September 25th, 1992. We're wrapping up another month, so let's go ahead and get right on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Daniel Day-Lewis and Madeline Stowe starring in Michael Mann's adaptation of the famous historic novel, The Last of the Mohicans. As I said, this is based off of the famous book, The Last of the Mohicans, a narrative of 1757 by James Fenimore Cooper, and it was actually previously adapted before as a 1936 movie, which is more to the film itself than the actual novel, this remake is. And like I said, it's directed by Michael Mann, and usually Michael Mann makes very good movies, and this is definitely another one of his very good movies. I won't say it's his best movie overall, but it is definitely one of his stronger works. Daniel Day-Lewis gives yet another good performance in here. Madeline Stowe is very good in this movie. It's a great movie overall. Some great cinematography to this movie. Dante Spinotti did a very good job with the cinematography on this. You've got a score by Trevor Jones, Randall, and Randy Edelman working off each other. And the movie, just overall, I think it does a lot better doing a modern epic historical drama than some of these other ones that we've looked at as of recently. Stuff like Havana, and then Far and Away. Those movies didn't really work out so well, but this movie really is a very solid film overall. It's got it's a great story to tell. You can buy into the romance between Lewis and Stowe. The action is very good. There's a lot of history coming out of this movie. It's a grander, more epic scale movie, and it definitely shows on screen. It really does deliver a lot of what you would expect from a movie like this. Plus, Michael Mann gives it his usual directing style, and it works very well in the end. Terrific film overall. Last of the Mohicans. Can't recommend this one enough. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here. Probably the most underrated movie that came out this weekend. Although the movie after that could also fit into that category. But this first one here, Billy Crystal's directorial effort, the dramatic comedy Mr. Saturday Night. So Mr. Saturday Night was Billy Crystal's first directorial effort. It was also kind of his chance to show everybody that he can play a more dramatic role. This is a performance where he plays a comedian, but he's also dealing with a lot of dramatic elements into this character's life. And overall, it's a very good movie. It's maybe one of the most underrated movies that Billy Crystal has ever been in. He really is fantastic in this movie, and he also shows that he's got a good ability to work behind the camera. He does a very good job with the directing on this. The writing overall is very good. It's him and the writers of City Slickers, Babaloo Mandel, and Lowell Gaines, who also wrote A League of Their Own. And it's got a great cast overall. David Paymer in particular in here is fantastic. He got an Academy Award nomination for this role that he's in. You also have Julie Warner from Doc Hollywood and later on in Tommy Boy. Helen Hunt, who was just coming into her own on Mad About You at the time. Jerry Orbach from Law & Order. Ron Silver's in this. You also get cameos from classic comedians Jerry Lewis, Carl Ballantine, Slappy White, Jackie Gale. And it's just a fun movie overall. It's a well-made film, visually pleasing, both very funny and very dramatic. Nothing ever feels like it's being forced onto you. It's a great movie overall. It's one that I don't think a lot of people really talk about, but it's really one of the best movies I think Billy Crystal has ever made. It's a great movie overall, both very funny, very sweet, and an overall enjoyable movie. I'd say if you haven't seen Mr. Saturday Night, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Please go see this movie. You will not be disappointed by it. So, with that said, on to the next movie that we have here, and that is John Landis's Innocent Blood. So this is John Landis' second horror directorial outing after he did An American Werewolf in London over 10 years ago. I guess maybe you could count this as his third if you want to throw in Michael Jackson's Thriller in there. But this is the one that doesn't really get the praise that stuff like An American Werewolf in London and Thriller do. But, you know what? Honestly, when I saw this movie for the first time a few years ago, I actually did kind of enjoy it. Like, I don't know. Maybe maybe it's because of the fact that it's shot in Pittsburgh, which is, of course, close to where I live, around that area, about half hour away. But overall, I thought the concept overall was actually really good. This idea that you have this beautiful French vampire who finds herself pitted up against these mobsters, and the leader of them is played by Robert Loggia, who becomes a vampire and decides to create his own criminal syndicate of vampires. It's such a cool concept, and this actress, Anne Perlude, I think I'm saying that name right, she was also in La Femme Nikita, and that's why that John Landis casted her in this, because she, as Landis said, she had to be a beautiful and sexy, very sympathetic woman, and Anne had been a ballerina, so she had that amazing physicality to it. And one of the things that was really concerning about this was that preview audiences had trouble understanding her French accent, but he didn't want to dub over her, and I thought that was the right way to go. And he describes this movie kind of as a Hammer film, as if it was directed by Martin Scorsese, which you could definitely see when you look at this movie overall. I thought it was a ton of fun. Like, I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. You got Perilode. I think I'm pronouncing this name right. Give me one sec. And Perilou. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not entirely sure, but you have her in here. She's playing a very solid role in here. Robert Loach is having a ton of fun with this role as the bad guy, the lead gangster in here, the lead crime boss, I should say. You got Anthony LaPaglia in here, Don Rickles, Chaz Palminteri, Tony Sirico, Leanna Quigley's in this. Frank Oz also has a cameo. Angela Bassett's in this. Tom Savini, Sam Raimi. It's a fun movie overall. I really enjoyed this movie. I think a lot more than a lot of people did. It's certainly not a classic movie like American Werewolf in London is, or something like Michael Jackson's Thriller, or even some of the best works by John Landis, but I don't think it's a terrible movie, honestly. It's a movie that really surprised me. Like, it was a movie that I really didn't go in there with a whole lot of excitement for, but I honestly came out of it really enjoying it a lot more. I like the visuals to it. I like the design that this character has when she turns into a vampire, which is kind of silly, but also kind of fun to watch at the same time. You can definitely tell that it's practical effects. It's not anything crazy with it, but it's a fun movie. It's a movie that I think should deserve a lot more attention. I don't think you should go in there expecting another American Werewolf in London, but go into this movie with the right mentality to it, and you go in and a little bit of an open mind, and you might actually find a lot more to enjoy about this movie than most people would give it credit for. I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. It was a pleasant surprise for me. It was one that I was not expecting to really like as much as I did, but I had a ton of fun with it. And since we're doing this when Halloween is coming up, if you're looking for an underrated Halloween gem, definitely check out Innocent Blood. I think you will not be disappointed with it if you go into it with the right notes. So that's Innocent Blood. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Danzon. Yeah, Danzon. I haven't seen this one, so I can't really talk about the movie itself, but I'll give you a rundown of the plot here. You follow this woman, a switchboard operator in Mexico City, who lives for a job, her daughter, and Danzon. She's a strict and expert Danzon dancer, and in the last 6 years, she's danced with this guy named Carmelo, a tall and silent man, in the saloon Colonia every Wednesday. However, they barely speak to each other on the dance floor. When one night the guy disappears without a trace, she realizes how important he became in her life, and decides to take a train to Veracruz to find out where he is. And the trip ends up changing her life when he meets his brother, when she meets his brother, and it becomes a journey of self-discovery. So, like I said, I haven't seen this movie. I can't really talk about it too much, but it looks visually pleasing. It looks like a really solid movie, and this actress does look like she fits the part pretty well. So, like I said, I haven't seen it, but it definitely looks like a decent film. Maybe I'll check it out one day, but it's not something that's quickly on my immediate watch list. So, that's all I got for you on Danzon. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We jump into a brand new month on our next episode, October 1992. We'll look at October 2nd with 5 movies, including The Mighty Ducks with Emilio Estevez, Tom Selleck and Mr. Baseball, the ensemble comedy Hero with Gina Davis, Andy Garcia and Dustin Hoffman, David Mamet's Glengarry Glen Ross, and also Gary Sinise and John Malkovich in Of Mice and Men, based off John Steinbeck's classic novel. So, a lot of good movies to look at next time around. We'll definitely delve into a lot of them on the next episode. All of them on the next episode, I should say. But, with that said, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.